first section of First Chronicles chapter 1, the author had given us a select genealogy from Adam to Abram or Abraham. Now, in what we're going to study today, he takes us beyond that particular patriarch. Hi, I'm Ken Godevinus, and this is Digging for Scriptural Gems. Today we're looking at the gems in First Chronicles chapter 1, verses 28 to 54. Verse 28 starts off with the fact that Abraham's sons were Ishmael, via Sarah's handmaid, Hagar, and Isaac, via Sarah, his full status wife. Verses 29 to 31 give us the sons of Ishmael. Verses 32 and 33 gives us the sons and grandsons of Keturah, another woman in the story, Abraham's concubine. Finally, in verse 34, we're told that Abraham had Isaac, and that Isaac had Esau and Jacob, by now called Israel. The next section, verses 35 to 42, focuses on the sons of Esau, the eldest twin brother who had sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil stew. At verse 43, the chronicler starts to list the kings who reigned in the land of Edom along with the chiefs of Edom. Some of the names we may well have recognized from earlier parallel studies. The chapter ends with this list, but let's dig into why it may have been important for the author to include all of this here. Isaac was the son of promise and the covenant, whose birth was announced in Genesis chapter 17 and 18, and whose life is recorded in Genesis 21 to 27. Ishmael, this was the son born of Hagar. He was blessed as a son of Abraham, but he wasn't an heir to the promise or the covenant, Genesis 16 and Genesis 21. God promised to make a great nation through Ishmael, and you can check that out in Genesis chapter 21, verse 18. His descendants are listed here were the beginning of the fulfillment of that promise, ultimately fulfilled in the Arabic peoples. Let us also review the status of Keturah, Abraham's concubine. Keturah was the second wife of Abraham, taken after the death of Sarah. Check that out in Genesis 25, verses 1 to 4. Now, a concubine was a slave woman in ancient Near Eastern societies who was the legal property of her master, but who could have legitimate sexual relations with her master. A concubine's status was more elevated than a mere servant, but she was not free and did not have the legal rights of a free wife. So the children of a concubine could, in some instances, become equal heirs with the children of the free wife. After the period of the judges, concubines may have become more of a royal prerogative in accordance with 2 Samuel chapter 1 verses 10 to 14 and also 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 3. Keturah's sons became founders of nomadic tribes in the north of Arabia and Syria as Midian of the Midianites. Genesis chapter 36 verse 35 and Judges chapter 6 verse 2. When it comes to Esau and Israel, or Jacob, only Israel was chosen as the son of the promise and the heir of the covenant of Abraham. Nevertheless, the sons of Esau were still important to God and had a place in his eternal plan. Now, with reference to the kings of Edom that are also listed here, it seems that they came into power before the kings of Israel. In this, the chronicler reminds the reader that God's ways have their own timing and wisdom, a timing and wisdom which is sometimes apparent and sometimes not so. This list of the kings of Edom shows that Esau was indeed a blessed man. Genesis 33 verses 8 to 16, and also Genesis 36, though he was rejected as the inheritor of the covenant of Abraham. The chapter closes without a mention of the name of God in the entire chapter. Yet, as the chronicler mentions these men as quoting from the sacred history of Genesis, excuse me, God is indeed the unspoken main character in the entire sweeping drama. Commentator Selman says, quote, "This chapter has therefore become a panoramic view of God's dealings with humanity in both creation and redemption. God's name does not actually appear, of course, but his activity is visible everywhere to the discerning reader. To get an idea of what he means, just go over some of those names and remember their stories and how God was involved. We should be able to go through the milestones of our own life and see God's loving and gracious hand and involvement at many points. Hey, next time we're going to look at the genealogy of Jacob and Judah. Join us for that. In the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, if you like the detailed study we're doing, indicate so by liking this video wherever you're watching it. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digging for Scriptural Gems. Go to YouTube, type in Digging for Scriptural Gems, and subscribe. But most importantly, keep on studying the Word of God. Till next time.